Welcome to the Pinch to Zoom podcast, the show where we zoom in on the latest tech news, products, and trends. I'm Stetson.
I'm Gabe.
And this is actually the first episode we're back together in the same room.
Yeah. So the echo that you're hearing is actually real echo because we haven't soundproofed and sound treated our room enough.
We're building out the studio step by step.
Slowly, eventually, I'll start adding echo back in as we're able to eliminate the echo in our room. But until then, hey, it's all real. And we have a completely full lineup of stuff. What do we have on the docket for today, Stetson?
Yeah, so we're talking cameras, phones, gaming, Amazon's huge tech event. They announced a ton of stuff, and then some upcoming tech events to be aware of to add to your calendar so you can schedule your lunch breaks around those. But yeah, generally just a very full newsworthy episode.
Yeah, we're abandoning all form and format whatsoever, pretty much. No quick news. No, well, go review. We'll see if that ever comes back. Who knows? That might have disappeared into the ether. But either way, let's get started with the thing that I'm the most excited about, the Gopro Hero9, which was announced and very quickly shipped. We're used to tech products being announced, and then it's like shipping in a month, shipping in
talk about the game consoles,
2 years, shipping in
like
whenever,
Crazy.
And GoPro announced their new Hero 9, which is technically their 10th camera. They had a 3 Plus in there that kind of mixed up their whole naming schema. But so yeah, their 10th camera. They've been doing this for a long time. And what we saw with it was really them taking one of the big features from their competitors, the Osmo Action, which was the front-facing screen. So now if you're taking a selfie, you can actually see yourself, which is pretty great, I guess.
I think that's a really excellent feature. I mean, you can frame your shots not only for taking selfies, but if you're vlogging, if you're just composing a front-facing image, if you're wedging your GoPro in a unique spot, you don't have to check on your phone. You can just use the...
Granted, it does have Wi-Fi, so every time I'm like, with my GoPro Hero 8, I was like, oh, I wish this had a front-facing screen. I was also like, oh, wait, I can just hook up my phone and...
Yeah, but this saves that extra step.
Okay.
Like, you get into the action much faster, easier setup.
True.
I think it's a great value add.
I will add that I don't necessarily love looking at it. Like, if it's just the numbers, I would rather look at that LCD or whatever, just a regular, like, simple display that GoPro has had on the front for a while.
Yeah, so you actually noticed this while we were out hiking yesterday. You were trying to, vlog in 5K?
Yeah, I was trying to vlog in 5K, normal day in the park. And as soon as you start recording, it looks like GoPro, the load to the processor is too much, and they can't send the video signal to the front screen. So they just switch it over to be numbers, just kind of counting up how long you've been recording. And that's helpful, but it's not really.
Did the same thing happen in 4K? Like, is this all modes?
No, it looks like it's just 5K. I bet it's also 1080p, 240 frames a second.
Just those, like, super high loads on the processor.
Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
But it's really, this is not a big issue because most people aren't going to be recording in those video formats.
Or vlogging in that mode.
Yeah.
What were the other, like, big features
The other big
Hero
things
9?
I mentioned 5K. I was kind of mentioning that's the big thing. They added a new sensor that the previous versions of the GoPros pretty much all used a 12 megapixel sensor. Now they went to 23.6 megapixels.
Big jump.
Right, exactly. However, you're not actually going to get that full amount when you're taking a photo. It's only 20 megapixel photos, and then, of course, 5K 30 FPS video. I'm a bit torn on this so far. I've been, testing it out all week, using it. It seems that the images do look better. There's better dynamic range and stuff. I'm still yet to see how the nighttime photos and nighttime time lapses do, because that's where you'd usually see, more noise develop on.
Right, with those higher megapixel sensors.
Exactly, because it's the same size sensor, but we'll have to see that. The other thing they did add was a slightly bigger battery. I haven't really noticed it being that much better than the GoPro Hero 8 so far, but it's definitely not worse. So
sure. GoPro's also known for their hyper smooth stabilization. Yeah. How is that on the Hero 9?
It does appear a little better. I mean, it's kind of, I think, a little bit of phony advertising to, call it a whole new generation necessarily. But yeah, it's the new hyper smooth 3.0 they have. They also have Time Warp 3.0. So everything got an upgrade pretty much around the board. The one thing I will just want to note, the pricing on this camera is very interesting. It goes for $450 from like Best Buy, B&H, Amazon. But if you buy it from GoPro's website, so direct from the company, and so they don't have to pay any middlemen, you can actually pick it up right now for $300. However, you have to then buy $49.99, so it's going to become $50 with the 1 year of GoPro Plus subscription.
Interesting. How many people do you think are gonna stick with that subscription when they buy the GoPro?
And it's interesting because I actually really think for the average person who isn't, using it for professional uses, GoPro Plus is actually a pretty good deal. It gives you 50% off any of your accessories that you want from their site. Gives you break it, we replace it, guarantee, and will also back up any of your footage, full resolution, to their cloud service from the camera itself. So you just put in your home Wi-Fi password or whatever, and then as soon as you plug your camera in, it'll automatically back it up. So
wow,
yeah, for the average person, it's a really great service.
For like $5 a month, that's actually really good.
Yeah, it's a great deal. And they're kind of just forcing you to buy it and get into the system, which
they're hoping you'll renew and you'll have a higher lifetime value as a customer.
And honestly, it will make you more happy with the whole GoPro experience. I think this is what they're trying to push. And yeah, give it a try. Definitely don't buy through B&H and Best Buy. I mean, they're great retailers, but for this purchase, go straight to GoPro's website.
Okay, my question here is, who is GoPro Hero9 for? Like, who should be upgrading to this camera? And then who should be like purchasing this new?
I think if you're a vlogger and you have the GoPro Hero 8, this is a definite easy upgrade. I think most people honestly could be happy with the GoPro 8 or even the GoPro 7. They're still great cameras. But, really for $350, I mean, just count it $300 and then you're getting the GoPro Plus, basically, honestly, is the way the deal works. And versus, I think the GoPro Hero 8 is going for about $250 or $200, maybe $225. So it's really not that much more expensive if you get this deal. And yeah, I'd give it a try. The only thing to note is it is slightly bigger, actually, than the Hero 8. So that is because of the larger battery, obviously.
Yeah, so some of the accessories
and the screen
may be a little bit different.
Some of the accessories, now they should still work all around the board. It's mainly that if you really want the super small size,
okay, sure,
it's really basically negligible, the size difference. But if you want the smallest, really full-featured action camera with a screen, GoPro Hero 8 actually is the way to go.
Sounds like the best one on the market right now. Let's move on. Sony actually announced the new camera, the Sony A7C. And I think to summarize here, we're looking at basically the A7 III, which is what we're both shooting on right now. And Sony lifted the record limit, so there's no 30-minute limit on this guy. It has the new flip-out screen that we saw with the ZV-1 and soon-to-be on the A7S III. Although this one does have the old UI, so you're not able to touch the interface and navigate around as you would have liked. But they also added face detect autofocus while shooting in 4K 30, and while you have an attached external monitor, which is awesome. That's one of my biggest pet peeves with the A7 III right now. There's a new IBIS system. I think I've seen mixed results on this. Some better than the A7 III, some saying a little bit worse. I'd say for all intents and purposes, it's probably right on par. And the other difference is you're now getting 1/4000th of a second shutter speed as your max, as opposed to 1/8000th on the A7 III, along with a single SD card slot instead of the dual SD card slots. Still, I think these are honestly great improvements. The A7C is super compact, and it's starting at just $1,800. So I think this is a really great full-frame option for people looking to get into a hybrid photo and video camera.
Yeah, the interesting thing is now I think this camera it feels more like, one of the A6600s or one of the A6 whatever,
like the APS-C lineup.
Exactly.
Yeah, one of those smaller ones.
It seems like they just took one of those cameras, put a full frame sensor in it. I will give them props that it is one of the smallest full frame cameras on the market. Isn't technically, they've been trying to say it is, but I think actually the Sigma FP beats it out.
It is. I think it is, but Sigma doesn't have autofocus.
No, exactly. But however, I would like to compare it to the Panasonic S5, which is another super small, compact, full-frame camera we've seen. And I know we've talked a while that, Sony has the better autofocus. Panasonic's still kind of trying to catch up on autofocus. But Panasonic, the S5, for only $200 more, is going to give you 4K 60 FPS, a full touchscreen, dual SD card slots, and 10-bit 422 video. So it seems like Panasonic kind of put a few more pro features into that camera for only a little bit more. So if you're really not as concerned with getting the smallest full frame camera, potentially the Panasonic might be a better option. And if you're looking to really branch out into more kind of pro work on a budget, of course.
Honestly, tons of great options in the camera space for creators right now. And another one we just saw was from Canon.
You're talking about the Canon Ivy Click 2.
Well, I was not talking about that. But Gabe, tell me why this is the new pro camera we should be looking at?
Well, okay, no, this
Question mark?
was kind of a bit of a joke, but we had, ripped on the, the Canon Ivy Rec Mini
The cheese, yeah.
in the past as like one of the worst cameras in existence. This is, even though it shares that Ivy name, it's not as bad. It's basically it's a new instant camera that they're putting out. There's one that is just simply an instant camera that you take a picture, print it out. There's another one that you can also then connect your phone to. And so you can actually transfer, I think, photos from the camera itself to, your devices and print from also your phone using it as a connected printer. So I don't know. It's kind of cool. It starts at $90 for the regular one, $150 for the one that's connected. And yeah, possible to look at. Anyways, the one you actually were talking about, though, is the Canon C70.
Yeah, this is a beast. So none of this plastic colored stuff for kids. The Canon C70 is a proper cinema level camera from Canon. And this thing is looking absolutely insane. It's looking to shoot up to 4K at 120 frames per second. It has the full frame sensor from...
no, it does not. Okay.
Oh, is it Super 35?
They're crossing over a lot here. Basically, how I would describe this camera is it's a cross between the Canon EOS R5 that we saw and the Canon EOS C300 Mark III. Now, what this camera actually is, it is the first Canon cinema camera to use RF glass, which is big because that's a lot cheaper and more compact and affordable than the EF glass, potentially.
Really? Wait, I thought the RF was the new mirrorless glass that's super expensive and nice.
It depends on what mirror. If the idea is eventually it will be cheaper, but right now they've really only...
It's just the new system that they have.
Right now they've only really released high-end mirrorless lenses, it seems like. Eventually, hopefully, they'll flush it out with more affordable ones that are more compact and really use the benefits of a mirrorless camera. But yeah, so it's kind of their modernized cinema camera, and it's meant for people who maybe have a lot of cameras that use that RF glass and want to get a cinema camera, but don't want to have to spring for all the new glass or use a ton of adapters or whatever. And yeah, it looks for $5,500. Basically, you're only getting 4K, so that's the one thing. But
only 4K, but it's
only
still
4K.
Up to 120 frames per second.
But there's a lot of videos online that are very key to see that and demonstrate very clearly that resolution is not everything. So even though that this only has 4K, it has 16 plus stops of dynamic range compared to the R5, which only has 12 plus. That's going to be a lot more, visual information in that image.
Incredible.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
let me jump in here.
Okay.
The 4K 120 is going to be at 10-bit 422. Along with that, this camera is also packing Canon's infamous dual pixel autofocus, which is brilliant for face detection, eye tracking, and keeping your subjects locked in focus while you're shooting and creating your films. Honestly, this camera is seeming like one of the best lightweight systems for people who are into action or sports or just looking for a more affordable Canon cinema camera.
Cinema. If you don't want the hybrid of stills and video and just want a cinema camera, this is definitely the best way to go. You get the inputs of a cinema camera with the XLR, mini XLR ports, while also getting that slightly smaller size at 2.6 pounds, which is still pretty heavy, but not, the 4+ pounds of most cinema cameras. And you also are getting a bit more of that modern interface and kind of look with the RF lenses and such. So yeah, it looks super exciting. We'll have to see when it actually ships. Looks like it's December at this point.
I think it was around November, but it could be pushed back to December depending on availability and when you get your pre-order in. Speaking of 4K 120 frames per second, we're segueing into our phone segment where we had the Sony Xperia 5 II. Gabe, what do you think of those named numbers? I think it's a strange system, doing a number and then the Roman numeral.
OnePlus kind of got into this with their whole, because of their name is OnePlus.
Yeah.
It's happened a lot. Yeah, they got to work on the naming schemes. Sony has not been known for having the best naming schemes. Actually, they've been known for having some of the worst with their headphones. That aside, You may have noticed that Stetson did mention 4K 120 FPS in a phone.
Yeah,
That's pretty
and
good.
HDR. So
and HDR for only this phone goes for $995.
I'm seeing $950.
$50.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, adding a $45 tax on there for some reason.
Hey, in some states that might be true.
It might be.
Honestly, though, the camera was the highlight feature for this phone because curiously, there's no 5G support in the US, despite using the newer 865 5G chip. But otherwise, it does kind of look like an interestingly well-rounded package. It's got a 120 hertz refresh rate display. It has that 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which is becoming increasingly scarce in this market. But besides that, I mean, it looks nice, potentially a little bit expensive considering the competition it's up against. We just had Samsung announce their S20 FE Fan Edition phone. But yeah, this could be a great option for some individuals. Now, if you are interested in 5G, I think that's where the Samsung S20 FE is coming into play. It's basically a cheaper Galaxy S20.
Now, let's just clarify. FE, we haven't seen this before in any device ever. That stands for Fan Edition, okay, guys? Fan Edition. So only the true fans are going to buy this, right?
I mean, the irony is it's actually a little bit lower quality and not really lower power, but it's just like a lesser phone.
The weird thing is I would have thought a Fan Edition would be like a more expensive exclusive edition, right?
Yeah, that's what I would have thought too.
But this is kind of like Samsung going, oh yeah, the S20 was a bit more expensive than we really wanted it to be. Here we are 6 months later, continuing a lot of the same features, but also putting in some little ways where you can just cut the price and, distinguish it as it being different from the S20 while still making it slightly competitive.
Yeah, so I think this is starting at $700, which is a much better price point for consumers. And I actually heard Samsung wasn't even thinking of making this phone until around February of this year when the pandemic hit and they realized, oh, wait a minute, like maybe people don't want to be spending over $1,000 on their smartphones. This has three 12-megapixel cameras on the back, ultra-wide, wide, and telephoto. It's got a 32-megapixel front-facing camera, a beautiful, I believe it's a 6.4-inch OLED display on the front. And yeah, overall, it seems like a affordable budget option. But really, I kind of question this because at this point, you can grab an S20 used for around $600, so you can save $100. And a lot of the carriers are offering like buy one, get one free for the S20. Like if you port your number or add a new line to your account, you can get a free S20. So I don't know. I think the regular S20 may be the better move in this scenario if you can get it for a deal. But otherwise, the Fan Edition kind of speaks to Samsung fans who are more on a budget. And I think it is a great option to have.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up there. A lot more colors and a lot more promotion via BTS and stuff like that. So if you're looking at an S20 but didn't want to spring for $1,000 and couldn't find a deal, this might be the way to go. Moving on, we have another phone which is very odd and this
almost like doesn't deserve airtime.
Just talk about it just quickly. Just give us what we need to know quickly.
Okay, so this is the Royal Flexpai 2. So this is the second phone. And what this folding phone is instead of folding closed like a book, the screen is actually on the outside where the book cover would be. And the previous Royal Flexpai had horrible problems with the build, the integrity of the hinge, and just the quality of the product. This one looks, we don't really know, but it's just their new attempt at a folding device. Honestly, I don't think it's worth it for anyone at this point, and we should really just move on to the other news we have to cover.
Okay, yeah, Stetson, give us your carrier updates right now.
Carrier update from AT&T. AT&T launched their unlimited Your Way plans. All this means is you can now mix and match AT&T plans on a family account and still get the multi-line discounts. Previously, all lines had to be on the same plan, and that could be more expensive if one line didn't need the most expensive option. But now you can mix and match. Verizon had this for a while, and T-Mobile is now the only carrier where you can't mix and match. You still have to have all the lines on the same plan to get that group discount.
Yeah, so TLDR, if you are an AT&T customer and have a multi-line plan, go in and renegotiate your prices because you can probably get a discount now.
Yeah, swap the lighter users to the lower tier plans
Exactly.
and keep the premium users at the premium plans.
Moving on into something we don't really talk about a lot. We're trying to talk about
We're talking about it more
because
but we're still not doing it.
we're not doing it as much as, well,
Our friends,
yeah.
those enthusiasts.
Well, we're talking about gaming.
It? Yeah.
We're talking about gaming before you get weird ideas in your head. Gaming is something that neither of us are really into from the culture
We're
side.
like
and
hobbyists, really, is what we are.
We like the technology. We appreciate the technology that.
Yeah, next gen is looking sweet, but neither of us are going to get it.
Yeah, because I think at the current point, the amount that we both game, and this might resonate with some of our listeners, or some might be saying, wow, you guys are insane, is we don't, game enough to justify a $400 to $500 purchase of a new console.
Yeah, and what are these consoles going for? Like, why aren't we picking them up? I think they're kind of expensive, but we just got the pricing and details.
Yeah, so since our last podcast, we've had the pricing announced, we've had the launch dates announced, and we've actually had the pre-order date pass, and crazy hectic pre-orders ensue. So, of course, the PS5 went first. Sony put their stake in the sand, saying that the PS5 will cost $500 when it launches, and then it will be $400 for the digital edition. And pre-orders went online September 17th. And that,
if you were lucky enough to get one,
that was very hectic because they didn't actually really announce when they were going, and all of a sudden pre-orders were just happening on Best Buy, and people were running around like crazy, going to sites, and
it's madness. The
broke
stock
loose,
was just like sold out. All of the pre-order systems were breaking down. People were getting it and then not getting it anymore. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I think that people are a little overreacting. I will say, though, as someone who has been freaking out over trying to get their A7S III shipped to them and get it as early as possible, I can understand where they're coming from. They've waited a while for this, and they really want it. The good news is, I will say, if you wait for these new consoles to, actually, games to be developed for them that really take advantage of them and such, and maybe wait a year and a half, you'll get them for a cheaper price.
Yeah, and honestly, with the release date, so PS5 is launching November 12th, and Xbox Series S and X are both launching on November 10th, and this happens to be right in the middle of November, right before Black Friday.
I don't think you'll get a deal.
No, they absolutely, so they'll do game bundles and things like that.
You'll get a slight game bundle, but they really...
they're going to package it up, so what they're doing is all of the enthusiast fans who want to get it day one, Sony and Microsoft are getting all of those people to pay upfront the premium price for the console. Yes. Black Friday is going to hit. That's where they have the bundled deals. So they're going to be adding value to the console.
Yeah.
And that's when
you won't actually get a discount. You'll get value added. So you'll get maybe it'll be the Halo or the new Assassin's Creed, the new Call of Duty, etc. added in. So yeah, that's potentially one thing to little consolation prize. If you missed out on the pre-orders, you could potentially get some value added. Let's talk about the Xbox Series X. I said $500 for the PlayStation 5, $400 for their digital edition. Series X is going to be almost identical, but slightly different with the digital. So the regular Series X is going to be $500. Series S, their digital version.
Well, this is actually a lower powered system too. I think that's important to keep in mind.
It is important to keep in mind, but it's still the entry level, right?
Yeah. So what is it?
It's only $300, and this is, an interesting. Is it going to be better? Because it's not
$100 cheaper.
It's $100 cheaper, but it's not
true next gen.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be 1440p gaming. I don't know.
I think it's a smart choice by them because not everyone has TVs or want to take advantage of 4K gaming.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think the parents going in to buy these consoles are going to see the new Xbox, the new design.
Yeah,
they're going to see it's $100 cheaper than the PS5, and they're going to be like, "Yeah, we want that one." And honestly, for most people, the 1440p is going to be just fine. For the gaming enthusiasts, like, you already know you're getting whatever console you want, maybe even both of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for those parents this holiday season, I think Series S is going to be a big win, especially with Microsoft's monthly, not financing, but monthly options. So with
it's kind of like they're almost a subscription. They're like,
that's a great term for it.
2-year subscription, pay for the console, and also get their Game Pass.
Yeah, so it's Game Pass Ultimate, $35 a month for Series X, $25 a month for Series S, And of course, this includes all of the games available with Game Pass. I think some great value adds for certain people. I think we should move on to Facebook. They had an interesting event where they announced their Oculus Quest 2. Now, of course,
it was almost buried in the barrage of tech news that's been coming out. You had the Xbox Series X and S, the PlayStation 5, and this just completely got lost in there. I actually missed the announcement, and then 2 days later, I saw someone reviewing it, and I was like, oh,
that's out?
That came out. I think it also surprised people because they weren't expecting it to come out so soon.
Yeah, this is one of those products.
We had talked to Elena back in, I think, July now about VR, and she was saying, oh, yeah, that will be coming out maybe next 6 months, maybe.
Or maybe next year.
It sounded more like next year, and then boom.
I don't think it even leaked that much either.
No.
And so this was kind of a nice surprise. And what we saw here is basically, as a refresher, the Oculus Quest 2, it's basically like a phone and a headset. So it's wireless, and it includes the Snapdragon XR2 processor, 6 gigs of RAM, and either 64 or 256 gigs of storage. And it has a 2K resolution per eye, which is great, and now has a 90 hertz refresh rate display. So some nice improvements. It's a standalone headset. You don't need any smartphone or any computer to use it, though you do have the option to plug in a computer if you want to run more intensive and more realistic games with the headset. But yeah, I think really interesting. This is starting at $300 for 64 gigs and $400 for 256 gigs. Gabe, is this something you would get? We're not really the gaming type here, but I thought they still had some interesting announcements with Oculus Move and Infinite Office as well.
Okay, so there's this one review I'll direct people to, ARS Technica. The title, "We do not recommend the Oculus Quest as your next VR system." And this isn't a huge upgrade over the last version. Basically, they made it cheaper. That's the big upgrade, is it's not as expensive. But they cut some corners in places that people who have used the previous version are not so happy about. And then there's a big thing of the fact that you now need a Facebook account to log in to use this device, which I personally don't see as a huge issue, but a lot of people really aren't happy with linking, Facebook, a company that sells you tons of ads, uses your data willy-nilly, and then linking them to all your VR experiences.
That's so true. And what's interesting to me is with Oculus Move, this is sort of a new AR fitness experience, kind of like Apple Watch and activity rings, but brought to VR. Facebook could potentially use that data to target you with different fitness products or, supplement shakes, tons of opportunity there. So it is kind of curious that they're kind of mining that data, or so it would appear, by logging in with your Facebook account. The other thing, though, what did you think about Infinite Office? So this is where it integrates with your real environment. You put the headset on, and it projects virtual computer monitors in front of you. And Facebook's actually now working with Logitech to have a physical keyboard brought in to the virtual reality space so you can type and interact.
It's interesting, but I don't know if that's necessarily better than a physical environment. I guess you can change it up.
You don't need
all
the
time.
space necessarily. You can have a triple monitor setup with just a super clean desk.
True. I would just worry about, that screen is so close to your eyes. I would
what the effects of that are.
Yeah, like eye strain and stuff. Maybe I have to try it out though. I think that's really, if you haven't tried it out, it's a lot cheaper now, $300 to get into it. So I guess that's one key benefit. But yeah, definitely look at some of the reviews on there, comparing this to previous VR systems, and hopefully we'll see some other real competitors come out with some new stuff, because right now it really seems to be Oculus is just dominating this market right now.
Yeah, and I think we had one more bit of gaming news related to one of your favorite headphone companies.
Yeah, this is hardly gaming news, but Bose did release a gaming variant of their Quiet Comfort 35-2, which was their old flagship headphone. Basically, I'm guessing they had a lot of them lying around still.
Extra inventory, what do we do with these?
So they decided, hey, why don't we just repurpose them by adding this kind of mic/headphone plug-in attachment. Basically, instead of the standard auxiliary cable you plug into the headphones to use them wired, it now has a slightly different shape and has a mic coming out of it. So yeah, you can use now your Bose headset to game with, which I will say they're very comfortable headsets.
They're absurdly comfortable.
Very light, so if you're gaming a lot, it could be more comfortable than the more heavier kind of beefy gaming headsets that are out there, like Turtle Beach and stuff like that.
I don't think you're going to be getting like 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound as you can get with some Logitech headsets and some other options, but honestly, comfort, sound quality,
noise canceling,
like.
And $329, it's a little expensive. They're shipping on October 13th. Maybe wait till, again, Black Friday's coming around the corner. We're going to mention that. We should have a counter of how many times we tell people to wait till Black Friday. But it's definitely something, even if not Black Friday, just oftentimes we see tech companies mark up stuff a little bit more on the release.
Anticipating the deals.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, speaking of Black Friday, the tech products you pretty much exclusively want to get on a deal and discount are going to be the smart home products. This includes Google's Nest line of devices and the brand new line of devices from Amazon. Amazon just hosted their own event. This was interesting because it was only live streamed to tech journalists. Wasn't available to the public.
I was hurt by this a little bit.
Yeah, like, wow, Amazon, ouch. Do you think they did it because they didn't want to be on YouTube? They didn't want to be on the YouTube
I'm not
Google
sure.
platform?
They do have, I think we mentioned it previously on this episode, or maybe not, but Amazon does have their own live video kind of platform.
Amazon Live, yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically a lot of people talking about products and reviewing stuff or unboxing stuff and trying new things. I thought they would push it on that or even on Twitch, which they own, but
nope.
Apparently not.
Private event.
They didn't really want to have to deal with, curating something, and it's expensive to put on an event like that. So they just decided, all right, we'll just do it straight to journalists. They'll put out the message we want. And yeah, so we got a bunch of different stuff that they launched. Let's start with, honestly, we were just talking about gaming, so let's start with that. We have both used Stadia in the past.
Yeah, I actually really like the idea of a cloud service.
It definitely needs to be flushed out a little bit more games, more stuff like that. And it definitely helps if you have fast internet.
It's basically need fast internet.
But since then, we've also seen, cloud gaming offered by Xbox.
Yep, this is with their Game Pass.
Isn't there another company that's also offering it?
Yeah, there's actually a handful. I think we talked about it in more
Steam
detail.
is offering it, I think, now, right?
I think there's just a few different options.
Yeah.
We'd have to look into that again, but we talked about it in our gaming.
It's becoming more and more. Everyone's jumping into this.
Everyone's jumping on this bandwagon. So what did Amazon do for this?
So Amazon launched Luna. Well, they didn't actually launch it because it's not actually available to actually use. But what it is their new cloud gaming service. Controller connects directly to AWS. Now, AWS, they mentioned thousands of times during this presentation, according to many of the journalists. And the interesting thing here is AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. And so what is really odd is that, yeah, sure, AWS is cool because Amazon makes it, but anyone can use AWS. It's not like only Amazon can use it. So they tried to really throw around their weight of we are, the best cloud computing company in the world, which they definitely have a large market share, but the real clout that they have is that they own Twitch. So that's what's awesome, is that it integrates directly with Twitch and you can stream really easily to your account.
I'm super excited about this. I mean, we saw with Google Stadia that they're going to be announcing close integration with YouTube Gaming, where viewers can see what game you're playing and then click to immediately jump into a gaming session of their own. And I think Amazon really has potential here with that integration with Twitch, which is the largest game streaming platform.
By far.
By far. I mean, YouTube does have streaming, but we're talking live game streaming is on Twitch. Highlight reels and stuff usually end up on YouTube. So this could be really huge for Amazon. What did you think of what they're doing for pricing and the subscription of this? Were you able to...
Yeah, I saw a little bit about this. Basically, what they're doing kind of is doing it like, rather than Stadia where you subscribe to, all right, or the Xbox Game Pass, where it's like you subscribe and you get access to all these free games, and then you can kind of buy into other games.
Well, I think it's game
libraries.
So like,
I'm saying that's what the other ones have done. What Luna is doing is they're doing it kind of like a channel model, like you'd have on cable TV. Like if you sign up for cable, you get certain ones, and then you can, all right, I want ESPN. All right, I want HBO. That's kind of what they're doing here, where you sign up and you get the ones or the games that Amazon has included. And then you can be like, all right, I want to sign up for the Ubisoft channel, which is the only one that's announced currently
at this point.
Third party or other makers, but maybe down the road it's I want Activision, or I want to sign up for EA's ones, which EA would seem an easy one because they already have their own gaming pass subscription thing out there.
Yeah, and I'm curious like how easy or challenging it is for developers to support this new platform.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's a different model. And what do you think of the different models? So we have Microsoft doing, hey, you pay this amount monthly, you get access to all of our titles. And we have Stadia doing, hey, you get access to, or you can stream for free, you have to pay per game, and then you pay to up the quality. Yeah. And then you have Amazon doing, hey, everything's going to stream at the same quality, and you subscribe to different channels based on what games you want.
I think Stadia's, I personally like theirs, or Xbox's and Microsoft's the best. Stadia actually, if you think about it, kind of most closely resembles an actual gaming console experience, because you pay for the Stadia hardware, and then you can essentially just use it.
Yeah,
right.
And
if
you just
or you buy a
want.
game and you play that game. You buy another game, you play that game, and then it's like, oh, if you want to upgrade to get discounts on games, get free games, you sign up for the Stadia. What do they call it? Plus or Premium?
It's Stadia Pro.
Pro, okay. And then you can also get the higher resolutions as well. But that, I mean, I feel like that model more closely resembles a traditional console. You go buy the disc, put it in, stuff. I do, however, really like the Microsoft one where you just get access to everything.
Yeah, I like that too, because you can try out a bunch of different titles, see what kind of games you like, what you're into, and then from there be like, all right, I really want to purchase this and own it. Or you just like pay for it for a couple months when you have extra time to game, maybe during a holiday, and then you jump off the subscription.
Or you just don't buy any games ever and just subscribe.
Just subscribe. I mean, the cost of a subscription is like 2 or 3 AAA games, basically.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big win. And I think Amazon's doing something interesting. Pricing is $6 a month for the Amazon subscription, what they're going to be including, streaming up to 1080p at 60 frames per second with 4K coming soon. You can stream it up to 2 devices at a time. And most interestingly is this is designed to work with Safari on iPhone and iPad, something Google Stadia has not yet achieved. And the reason the reason Amazon is able to do this is they worked with the Safari team to make a progressive web app. It's called the PWA, and that is what's going to be powering this streaming experience on the Apple devices. We have no pricing for Ubisoft yet, and this is an invite-only system. And
yeah, so go to Amazon, put your email and info in, and see if you can get a invite to sign up. $50 for the controller.
Yeah,
I think that Safari web app, we're gonna have to see how that turns out. It sounds janky to me. It's.
But all they have to do is stream the video feed, right? So
I know that's all they have to do. Don't patronize me, but I just think an app experience is so much nicer than using Safari.
I guess I've had a good experience using a couple progressive web apps.
It's good. I've actually, when I was back in school, we were working on an app coded in Safari, right? Like making a website essentially that was just an app.
Yeah, it feels like an app.
But
people don't know to do that. Like,
and it's always just a slight, like you're still in Safari.
Yeah.
Right. You can't get around that fact. So I do think it's a good workaround to the fact that up till now Apple is not letting any really game and app stores, which is what this service is, into their app store.
Right, and it's not in the app store, so Amazon can charge full price, no problem.
Exactly.
And they're not going to run into the
this will be exciting. Well, no clue when it will actually launch, but this is definitely something that I think will see the light of day, and will eventually get, full launch to everyone.
There's going to be a full comparison whenever all
and there will be,
platforms
if you watch
up and
Twitch,
around.
prepare to see an inundation of ads on this.
Oh my gosh, Amazon's going to have you locked down.
It's going to go insane.
Okay, we spent a lot of time.
Speaking of stuff that we might not ever see the light of day, let's talk about this thing first. It was really exciting for me as a drone lover. The Ring Always Home Cam.
Yeah, what even is this? You described it to me, and I couldn't believe it.
Well, for one, don't get too excited about this, because we didn't even see a demo of it. There was no, real video of it actually working or real products displayed. It seems like it might actually see the light of day because all the technology is out there. Like, there's drones that can fly. You can easily land a drone on a base. It seems easy. Basically what it is it's this little box with this kind of weird drone that has it almost looks like a T kind of. It has a little part that sticks down and then enclosed propellers. It's a camera though. And so when you're away and you're like, oh, let me check on that room, you can have it go patrol your house, and it will take off, fly around, and then come land back at its base, and then you can see that video of all the different rooms. So if you only have then essentially one camera, and you can see a bunch of different rooms and stuff. I think it's an interesting idea. It does seem a little bit like we're getting into that future where we're just gonna have drones flying around and,
yeah, it's like kind of
scary,
weird.
but I think it's kind of cool. It's a little bit like, why haven't we seen this up until now?
I think it was presented in a very clever way too, because all of a sudden you have this flying camera in your home with video streaming to Amazon, and Amazon presented it as privacy you can hear. Because drones are actually quite loud. It's going to be a very obnoxious buzzing sound to any person who happens to be in the home at this time. But yeah, so you can't actually control the drone. It's going to be going on predetermined flight paths. This helps ensure that no one could hack it and take control of it and fly it around your house, things like that. I mean, it's curious. Would you get one? Who is this for?
For $250, no, I probably wouldn't get one. It's really just a glorified toy, I think, at that point. Like, you're much better just getting a bunch of different security cameras, putting it up from Ring, Nest, whatever. And yeah, that's the long term of that. We'll wait and see if we see it, honestly. But let's get to stuff we can actually start ordering. Let's get to the main, really, meat of it. The Amazon Echoes. That is their... Echo, yeah. Hopefully we don't have too much echo in this room. More reverb, honestly, which that'll be their next product next year. But the Amazon Echo, I think we're on, I don't even know what generation now, but it's kind of,
You'll know it's the new one because they redesigned it.
That's all that matters.
What do you think of the redesign? So for those of you who haven't seen it, it's a spherical design, and the playful, colorful hue, that blue circle that's typically been on the top of the Echo devices, is now moved to the bottom.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this?
Hate it.
You don't like this snow globe kind of look?
I hate it. It's ugly, and it just looks awful. I'm looking at my current Amazon Echo, and it's a much better design. Smaller footprint, takes up less space, and doesn't just so much surface area facing up on the other ones. I don't like it. I'm sorry. I know that they were like, in their evil lair, they're like, all right, what do we do to make people buy this, and to make people go, oh, you have the old Amazon Echo, and then you feel bad and you have to go buy the new Amazon Echo.
Are people gonna do that though? Like, I feel that's a phone thing. Like, instantly what phone someone has. Like, all right, you can kind of, they didn't get the new one this year, like they're on the old one.
I think it's more of a subtle thing where you'll start going to people's houses and you'll start seeing the new Echo, and you'll just subtly go, oh, that's the new Echo. Maybe I should get that because they're cool and
this is the Amazon family.
Yeah.
You'll know.
Anyways, so new design on all the different Echoes. They do have the regular Amazon Echo, obviously. That's going to be coming for $100. Shipping, I think that it's mid-October is what it said.
I had later this year.
I think that one was shipping mid-October. The Echo Dot also got a spherical design. You have one, that's the regular one, kind of like they've had all along, $50. You have now another one that is using the clock version, which is kind of just...
I think it literally is the same, but it just has a clock that
numeric display,
numeric display of the time. Could be helpful.
I really like that, and that is kind of they introduced earlier this year. That's getting the ball makeover. That's going to be $60, as well as the Echo Dot Kids, which I really like this edition. It's very cute little panda and a tiger painted on the spherical shape of the Echo Dot. That's going to be $60 as well. And I can imagine a lot of parents picking those up for themselves, even though it's mainly that it supports,
a cute design.
Features for kids like story time and parental controls and stuff like that.
It's into different kind of house aesthetics and designs.
Now, the other thing we did get was an Echo Show, which...
This looked actually cool.
This also kind of got the ball makeover, right? I think with the base.
Yeah, so it kind of looks like a super old school iMac. It's got a spherical domed base, and it has a display on it. And what's unique about this is it will actually swivel. It's a 10-inch display. It will swivel the display to face you.
Is this actually unique, or is this basically just a better version, or a slightly better version? I still think it needs some work. Slightly better version of the Facebook portal.
This is unique because the portal... I think the camera had a wide-angle lens and would crop in and follow you. This will physically pivot and rotate the device.
You might be right.
To follow your exact location. The way it's doing this is it's using the 13-megapixel camera to recognize a human shape and then point the device in that direction. And Amazon was pretty clear, like after that, the image has been processed, the information and data is deleted. Like they don't want to see your personal info.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's great, Amazon. Like, cool. Thanks for reassuring us you're not spying on us, because we're all worried about it, that you are, and we know that you are in some ways. But here, you're going to put out publicly, we're not spying on you in this way. You know, we're not using your information in this way, even though, you know, basically what it is they are using our information in so many ways. So they don't want to anger us anymore because they like the deal they're getting right now. They're getting all our personal data from the browsing, our shopping history, etc. And as long as, all right, we don't need to expand how much more information we're getting from them. Let's just start getting more products in their house, because secretly what you don't realize is they're collecting so much data anyways from an Echo Show if you have it. They're collecting, you know, what you're browsing, what recipes you get, all these different things. Sorry, that's a slight...
Gabe's going on a tangent.
Diverge.
He's like, they're stalking me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's the one who owns 2 Amazon devices.
3 Amazon devices,
3 Amazon
please.
devices.
Sorry.
But when you pick this one up, it now supports video calling for Zoom and Netflix, and it's coming in at $250. So
no,
kind of expensive.
Yeah, it's a little expensive. It is a 10-inch display, which is nice. You can actually, I think Disney Plus I saw might have been coming to an Echo's.
Gee, yeah, I want to use my Echo Show to watch TV. I mean,
it's a nice thing potentially to, you know, if you're, most people have these, honestly, let's get real. Most people have these in their kitchen, use them for
for cooking,
looking up recipes.
Yeah, that's the.
But
real
also
move.
watching, you know, a TV show while you're cooking, that's kind of cool.
I mean, I would get distracted.
Anyways, I wouldn't get this, and I wouldn't honestly get really a smart home speaker with a screen at this point, because currently the reason why I like, and I think I've said this before, is that smart home speakers, you know, allow you to interact with your technology without looking at a screen, which is something I'm trying to get away from as much as possible, because my job involves me looking at a screen, you know, social media, looking at a screen. I'm looking at a screen 13 plus hours a day anyways, or whatever.
Jeez. Did you get your screen time notification?
Yeah, I don't even, that was depressing.
He's shocked.
And so I really like the ability to ask an Amazon Echo or Google Home, or those are really the only 2 now. The HomePod has kind of gone defunct, but you know, any smart speaker to do something, to set a timer, to do this without me having to go into my screened devices and potentially get drawn in, and 5, you know, to 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh, that was what I meant to do.
Sure.
You know?
Actually, I think there's a flip side to this.
Okay.
And the flip side is sometimes you'll ask a question and you'll get a list response, like restaurants near me or something. And it's really helpful to be like, all right, you're not going to remember what this assistant is saying to you. So it's nice to just, boom, glanceable list. You can interact, scroll through it. And the other big thing is specifically with the Google Nest home device.
Yes.
Or, they have the display, and it'll integrate with Google Photos to show you fun pictures of your kids. And of course, Google has developed
your kids.
Well, I guess that was kind of a generalized statement, but your photos, like your memories, your moments, and it will highlight the best photos in your albums. Amazon isn't doing that with the Echo Show, so they don't have that, but Google has that. And I think just being able to see your photos in this cool device really makes it more meaningful and more impactful. So I
guess, but
I think for some people, it's really excellent having that display specifically on the Google device. I don't know if I would get the show.
You're in the Google ecosystem. I'm in more the Amazon ecosystem. I think that both have their pros, and like the Amazon, for example, shopping is going to be way better on it because you're using right in the Amazon store versus the Google store. Is that even in existence?
I actually don't do shopping with my. You trust that? You're like, let me just get my groceries.
I wouldn't buy it sight unseen audio wise, but if there's a screen and it can pop up a couple options, I can tap one or just say, oh yeah, that one right there. That works better. I do get what you're saying. The visual interface is nice, and maybe that's also, even though it's a screen, it's a way that I don't get sucked in, right? Because it's only giving me a list.
Yeah, there's no like apps. Like you're not like gonna suddenly jump on Twitter. Like you're gonna get the information you need, dip in, and then get out. And it's just
what I really want though is like a hologram, all right, that pops up a screen above.
So no screen when you don't need it, screen when you need it.
Exactly. So it doesn't draw me in. Anyways, that was the Echo lineup. We also did see, because you know they own a bunch of different companies now. We mentioned Ring. They did the Ring, you know, Always Home Cam. That was kind of their future product. Tease this, we'll get a bunch of press. They also
that's the drone.
Yeah, that's the drone. Sorry, yeah. That's not. They didn't even call that. Put drone in the name. I think that was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't like. You said that, and I was like, what was that? And then I had to read our description. So that is the drone. And we also had the Ring Car Alarm and the Ring Car Cam.
Yeah, and these are basically, you know, working with your car to Well, interestingly, now Amazon Sidewalk is something
What do you think about this?
I'd never even remembered them announcing last year. And supposedly they did, and now it's a real thing in all of their Ring devices, which is basically, it's kind of like the tiles. Remember those?
Yeah, so it's Amazon is building this technology into all of the devices they've been shipping, I believe last year and this year and going forward. And it's going to be able to allow Amazon to create a mesh network that they're calling Amazon Sidewalk. This has similar connectivity ability, similar to, I want to say, Bluetooth. I think they're using like the 900 megahertz spectrum. And this will allow their security devices to communicate and share data about which location they're at and communicate.
Well, it's not, don't think of it as sharing data. It's basically, it will allow their security devices to create a network that data can be shared.
Sure.
However, they're never actually really communicating to each other. It's more just passing along information.
Right.
So that eventually it can make it onto a device that's internet connected potentially. And then, what it can be used for is like the tile devices, for example. Say you need to find something, you can find it. Say you're getting like this with this Ring car alarm, if your car gets broken into or something happens to it, boom, even though that device isn't actually itself connected to the internet, using Amazon Sidewalk, boom, it reaches out to an Echo in a nearby apartment or whatever, and that goes through online, and then you get a notification.
It sends you the notification. Yeah,
it's a very interesting thing, and the people who are probably sad about this are all the I've seen those ads at Verizon for, what do they call it?
Oh my God, it's like the Verizon hum
yeah,
device?
I think it's the hum, but basically the devices you put in your cars and it tracks the car and like speed.
And the device is expensive,
well,
and then you add it to your plan.
Yeah,
and
it's the plan that's expensive.
It's like $30 a month or so. I mean, I don't know the specific number, but you're just tacking on another add-on to your Verizon plan. And everything on the market right now has been super medium, super stale, super stagnant. Just like, let's rack up these subscription costs to our users. I think this is going to be a really interesting alternative, but it's also all or nothing. Like, if Amazon can't build out Amazon Sidewalk, won't work.
That's not even a question.
Gabe's just like, yep.
It'll be built out. Don't worry. Amazon devices are so ubiquitous at this point. All they have to do is just like flick a switch and it's
lit up.
It's lit up. The other thing they did announce, which I'm not even really going to talk about that long. By the way, Ring car alarm, $60. Ring car cam was the other one for Ring, and that is a camera that you put in your car. You can tell it to start recording a traffic stop, or it's $200. It's launching in 2021. We'll hear more about it then. It's honestly, no, I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Let's move on. The other company that they own and have bought is Eero, which makes Wi-Fi routers, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So yeah, we got new Wi-Fi routers. Finally, we got Wi-Fi 6.
Very slow to uptake Wi-Fi 6.
But
I'm just curious.
Hey, it's finally here, and I think that these are kind of semi-affordable routers.
Yeah, so there's two.
Yeah.
We have the Eero 6 and the Eero 6 Pro.
Depending on what people need, you can Eero 6. Less speed, if you don't have fast internet anyways.
Yeah, I think The Verge was saying the threshold is if you have gigabit home internet, which we're lucky enough to have in our apartment, yes, get the Pro. If you do not have gigabit home internet, then you're going to be fine with the Eero 6. Like, you won't really notice that difference. So
yeah, and the mesh Wi-Fi routers. The really thing that I thought was nice about these, as I've worked with the Netgear mesh networks, they're Orbeez. And the really annoying thing there is they're not backwards compatible. And if they are, it will downgrade your whole system. So say you had an old Orbi network, you bring in the new one. Oh, cool. Yeah, you can use that new router and
but
satellite.
It's capped at the old.
But it will cap it at the old one. The great thing with these new, the ones from Eero, is that say you have an already existing Eero network, you could bring in just one of their new ones that support the Wi-Fi 6 standard and maybe put that in the place where you're most often congregating, or you most often have the most devices, and those will probably link to that one and then be able to use and utilize that new Wi-Fi 6 standard.
Exactly. So the new devices that have the new Wi-Fi 6 standard that are connected to the new Wi-Fi 6 compatible Eero will use that technology. And they also updated kind of their mesh network for the newer routers if you have them, but of course everything is backwards compatible. I think that was it for Eero. We had some slight updates to the smart assistant that Amazon makes, and I will refrain from using its name for this episode, but it can now learn better, listen better, and respond better. And did you hear about the join the conversation?
Yeah, I saw this little demo and heard about it. I think it's interesting. We'll have to try it out. But basically, it's like it can, I could be asking you, hey, you want to order pizza, and then, or that was the example they used. But hey, we want to go to the movies. Yeah, okay. What movies are playing? Ask the smart speaker.
Yeah. And then all right, show us show times for that. What do you want to see? So it can add the assistant to the conversation, and it will intelligently determine if you're talking to it, the assistant, or kind of having a small conversation,
side conversation,
amongst yourselves before then going back to it. And really, we just have to see how this pans out. I mean, this is either going to be a huge win or just like a awkward interaction. It causes more delays. We'll have to wait and see.
I feel like eventually this is inevitable that it will, the smart speakers are going to develop, so they're basically just like another human being in the room, essentially, as far as like how they can integrate in the conversation and such. But that's how long that is, we're gonna have to wait and see. Last one we kind of skipped over. There's no way to easily fit this in. No nice transition. But Fire TV, we got a new interface update. Interestingly, we will be seeing Google with their event launch a new Google TV type thing next week. So it'll be interesting to compare those. Anyways, Fire TV Stick, $40. Fire TV Stick Lite, $30. Now you can get into that, which is honestly, it's the interesting thing. It's only $10 difference. So I feel like most people are just going to go, all right, cool, I'll go with that $40.
Absolutely. And I think what's cool about this is it now supports Zoom. So you can actually plug this stick into your TV and all of a sudden have your Zoom meetings on the big screen. I think that's great. It supports multiple user profiles, picture-in-picture, and is overall just an affordable way to bring your TV to the next level.
Yeah, I would still probably go Google TV or
Chromecast, you mean?
Chromecast, whatever. Or Apple TV. Potentially, but if you have an all Amazon Echo house, an Echo Show, this is another way to integrate into that on your TV. And really, they're all kind of the same. They all have Netflix, Hulu, etc.
Very similar. You're getting all the services you love. It's just a different experience, and I would kind of recommend building out your home to either be one assistant or the other, so everything plays nicely together.
Yeah.
We had 2 bits of quick.
Well, that was pretty much it for like the new products that were released. So let's talk about what's coming up next, actually.
Okay.
And what are we expecting in the next, we're doing this podcast every 2 weeks. So in Techtober and Techtember, we're missing, a lot of stuff is happening in between episodes. So we got a lot of stuff to look forward to. One thing we might not have by the time we're here next episode is we might not have TikTok. That still is kind of up in the air of what the fate of that very popular social network is going to be. We had ByteDance decide to go with Oracle, which is notably owned by a very pro-Trump person or run by a pro-Trump CEO. And yeah, that's going to be their partner or tech partner, and they're going to handle that. The deal is yet to be fleshed out, and we're yet to even see if it's going to be accepted by both China and the US. So it's really up in the air, honestly, and we'll see where that goes in the future. But
yeah, the other big news, not big news, but something I stumbled upon is a new social network called Telepath, and it's kind of combining Twitter and Reddit. So you have to use your real name, and it's creating communities of people discussing certain topics. And there are very specific guidelines, kind of like the subreddit rules, on how you interact, how you have conversations. And I think it's just trying to foster sort of better, more interesting conversations online in different communities around different topics.
Yeah.
It's currently in beta. I've signed up. If you're interested in that,
will it be launched by the next episode?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Oh, dang it.
It's a startup with an interesting new idea.
Oh, that's why I was hoping it would be launched, because this is what's coming up next. So that was future next, way in the distant future. What will be happening by the next episode is we got a bunch of new product launches that are actually on the books. We have Aputure finally announcing for the 3rd time the B7C.
We're not counting or anything.
The
Aputure.
B7C Smart Light, which is Stetson's, I don't know. It was once your dream. Now it's like you're kind of over it almost. It's like you were infatuated with it, and it's kind of gone stale.
I was so
a little
hyped
bit.
last year.
Yeah.
And yeah,
now it still looks very exciting. It'll be $70. It's launching on the 29th of September at around noon on Facebook and YouTube. They'll do a live stream. Tune in definitely to that. Ted, who I think is, I don't know who he is in the company-wise, but he's very engaging and very good on camera, so I definitely recommend their live streams. The day after that, sorry, not October 30th. You put down the wrong date. September 30th, I think, right?
Yes.
Yes, that would be correct. We'll have Google launching 3 new devices. Well, kind of 3 new devices. The Pixel new devices, which is going to be the Pixel 5, and Pixel 4a 5G. Their new Nest Home speaker, and then the new Chromecast devices, which I'm very excited about. Finally putting in that real UI like Apple TV, which I've said many times they're sorely missing, because when I was using the Chromecast Pro or Ultra, whatever it is, with Stadia, I kept wanting like a home,
just like a home
display
to go back
to, but it's like, no, there's no home. You're just chucked into the abyss of just like photo slideshows or turning it off. That's
They're so pretty though.
They are pretty. I'll give it that. We also do have OnePlus actually putting a date on there for their 8T, the new device they're going to be launching this year, or the second new device, right? They'll be launching this year, and that will be October 14th. And then you may be noticing that there is another big company who we haven't heard about since their bonus episode event, or worthy event that we had back in September, and that is Apple, of course.
Yeah, so
our favorite, the one and only. They unfortunately haven't actually put an official date on the books, but we do have some pretty strong leads from people on Twitter, I think.
Yeah, so we're leading towards October 13th for the keynote.
Yep.
Pre-orders on the 16th, and the new devices shipping out and arriving.
Wait, I just want to interject quickly. Didn't this happen last year where Apple had an event and then OnePlus was like the day after?
They had to move. Yeah, OnePlus moved.
But they were still like right after, and I wonder if that's going to happen again this year, because
well, OnePlus is on a different day, so
the 14th, but it's still the day after.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
But they're still going to be so overshadowed, because what we're having here, it looks like, is going to be, of course, iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Pro, iPhone 12 Pro Max. When they'll actually go on sale, that's kind of still up in the air. It looks like the Pros might be later and the 12 soon after. And then, interestingly, we're going to see the first over-the-ear headphones under Apple's branding, like the AirPods branding.
Yeah, so AirPods Studio, kind of taking place of the Beats Studio headphones, and potentially AirTags, the location tracking devices for your car keys and things like that. Overall, we have a really exciting October lined up in front of us, and honestly, just an exciting next week. And I'm sure.
And my A7S III will finally be arriving before the Aputure B7Cs arrive.
Oh, we had such a. What if I can get like 2-day shipping on this thing? And
hey, maybe that happens then. But right now it looks like, if you've been a long time listener to the podcast, we've been debating who's going to be getting, that next gen product that they've been holding out for. And right now it looks like my Sony A7S III magically has appeared.
Aputure, let me down.
Last inning to save the day.
Let me just rehash this. Last year, Aputure announced their light, and they said coming this summer. I was like, super. It'll come like way before.
Yeah, that was last.
We didn't even
have
have
2019 spring, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2019
or like
winter.
Yes,
and they're like coming this summer. And great. All right, whatever. Summer comes and goes, doesn't come out. Then Gabe and I have this running joke. All right, who's going to be first?
Yeah.
The A7S III or these lights. And it just got pushed back. Aputure announced the lights again
in May.
And yeah, so I think
said
it's
coming this summer.
And then summer came and went.
And we got the A7S III then.
And that's when the Sony
jumped into
hard.
the lead, came out of nowhere, and shipping date launched in September 24th. And it's now shipped. Mine has shipped. It is now en route.
Yeah, and to be fair, people have that in their hands. So
Yeah.
I think, Gabe, you absolutely win.
The question here, though, honestly, to end this episode with, is will we see them actually announcing a shipping date and on-sale date? It looks like we will, because they already have their website.
It's on the website. You can get all the details. There's like a buy now button, but it's grayed out.
Yeah,
and it's like not
so
available.
I think it will be kind of, we're launching this now, you can buy it immediately type thing, which is...
That's the best.
Maybe you will actually get yours first, but I think, and it's also funny how close they've fallen together.
Yeah,
these two
and
products.
Honestly, the only thing in my favor is we just moved, and you had shipped the camera to
my
your old address,
address,
so that has to get shipped to our new address. That could be the saving grace.
It could be there could be like a little bit of an asterisk on this one, folks. But yeah, that's it for this episode. We might maybe we'll do a bonus episode if we get enough news this week, but we'll probably be back in 2 weeks for our regularly scheduled, though overrun with tech events type episode. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Honestly, I love it. Yeah, thank you all so much for listening. I'm Stetson.
I'm Gabe.
We look forward to talking to you in the next episode. Follow us at Pinch to Zoom Pod on Twitter, at Pinch to Zoom Podcast on Instagram, and leave us a rating in Apple Podcasts if you enjoyed this show. That's going to be it. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
If you're at all an Apple user at all, even just the phones, get the Apple TV.
So I guess that's what we're picking up.
I wonder if we will see that refreshed at all at the October event.
I want them to make a TV. Like, imagine a Pro Display XDR, but like 65 inches and a TV. That would be awesome.
That's insane. What do you want them to make? A drone,
$20,000
and a
TV.
car, an Apple car too? Get off and go to your fanboy corner.
Okay, jeez, Gabe.